My name is Sam Katzen, and I'll be joined by really a dream team of colleagues, including Aditya Jain, Mark Baker, and Angela Zhang, as well as a guest appearance from Mandy Hubbard, who will be doing a demo for all of you. So we're very excited about all of that. It's going to be a great set of content, and we're actually going to start with some of the priorities we hear from customers and organizations that we're talking to on a daily basis. And we're very fortunate to do so because it informs everything that we do with our core products, containers, libraries, and VMs, which we'll also talk through. Now, so from there, I'm going to just jump into kind of what we're hearing from you. And before we get into product updates, I always think it's valuable to talk a little bit about the feedback and priorities that we get from the customers that we talk to on a daily basis, because, as I mentioned, so much of that drives what we do from a product roadmap perspective. And at the highest level, kind of what we hear boils down to 4 key outcomes. And for your organization, perhaps the semantics are a little bit different, but the core understanding of the impact is really the same. And I get that for a lot of you, these aren't in this priority set, right? It may not be reduce costs, innovate faster, increase revenue, and reduce risk in that order. But my guess is that for all of you, depending on the season of where your organization is, one of these things is the #1 CEO or board level priority at this moment in time. And I recognize that I'm not exactly breaking anybody's brains with this revelation. This is not a really controversial take, but I think it's important to call out because for so many technology and security leaders, the initiatives that they plan for need to ladder up to one of these things. That's ultimately what's going to drive the business forward. And that could be something like building high velocity engineering teams, or migrating to cloud native development practices, or transforming your software build process. Those things are going to ideally optimize your costs and allow you to innovate faster. It could be entering new markets, right? Something that is focused on selling what's already on the truck to increase revenue. And it could be something like reducing your attack surface and operating a zero trust approach to your open source because you want to reduce risk and ideally help increase revenue in those compliance focused or highly regulated industries. Unsurprisingly, each of these initiatives at the leadership level are going to trickle down to the kind of the tip of the spear projects that we often have customers come to us with. And this, again, isn't going to be exhaustive, but I'm sure many of you have either projects that match up to these or something that's a derivative of it. And it's really useful, I think, in this visualization to see that that project around implementing secure by default software development or attempting to scale a golden image program is really focused on reducing costs or driving faster innovation. Similarly, we constantly hear, this is a very common one from customers who are saying, look, my customers have a security requirement, and that's a driver for us either to enter a new market or to drive more revenue in the same way that compliance or supply chain security projects are really focused on reducing organizational risk and opening up those new revenue streams. And I think the reason that each of these projects and initiatives intersects so much with what we do at Chainguard is that there's this real modern reliance on open source. And with that modern reliance comes a fair amount of challenges. That could be slowing innovation, that could be creating risk, it could be limiting revenue streams. And engineering and security teams, they've come to expect and prioritize a set of capabilities within their trusted open source artifacts. And that's really what we're building towards with our stack of our complete open source modern stack here. And so that includes everything from VMs to containers to libraries. And we're building to not only meet those capabilities today, but extend them even further in the future so that you are protected across your entire software stack and all of your use cases. And with that, I'll actually turn it over to Aditya, who's going to talk a little bit more about how Chainguard Containers have evolved in the last quarter and some of the new capabilities we're bringing. Aditya, on to you, man.
Hey everyone, my name is Aditya. I'm on the product marketing team here at Chainguard. I'm actually going to be joined by my colleague Mandy Hubbard as well, who is a senior technical PMM at Chainguard. And we're going to talk to you about what's new with Chainguard Containers. So I'm going to start with first our new pricing model. So as many of you may have seen, we launched a new developer-based catalog pricing model that makes it simpler for our customers to take advantage of our full catalog of 1,400 plus images. This is something that we heard as huge demand from existing customers who are being forced to prioritize a certain set of images versus others, and basically essentially doing a business cost analysis for every individual image that they sought on a per image pricing. With the catalog-based pricing, we now allow developers across your company to use any and all images that you want from our catalog, and to use them with all of our other features, which we'll talk about later today, things like custom assembly, private APK repos, end-of-life grace period, etc. Pricing is determined by the number of developers in your org who touch containerized development environments. So, the simplest way that we think about it is total engineers, less those working in mobile, bare metal, VMs, or non-containerized environments. And this is best suited for organizations with large or unpredictable tech stacks who frequently need to swap out the technologies that they're using, companies looking to go wall-to-wall with Chainguard across their teams, products, or business units, and platform teams who are looking to standardize DevX across the entire development org. Note that catalog pricing is available to commercial customers immediately, but is still offered alongside our existing per image pricing. If you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the Q&A on the right side of the panel, and I'll be happy to answer them towards the end of the call. The next thing that I want to talk about today is first-party Helm Charts. So Chainguard's IAM guarded images. These are one-to-one equivalents with past Bitnami charts. And today we have about 40 or so of these Helm charts with more to come as we build out the breadth and depth of our catalog. Not only are we building one-to-one functional equivalents with Bitnami charts, but we're also planning for further improvements in the secure by design configuration. So you may know that many Helm charts today still rely on things like shells, which often are an easy way to break into your environment. And so Chainguard is going to build more effective, more secure, easier to use Helm charts over time. The key benefits that we've seen with our customers is one, accelerated deployment, so making it easier to get started with Chainguard's images, simplified management of your Helm charts, meaning that there's no reason to manage and sort of like maintain these charts by yourself, or constantly pull from the upstream repos, improved testing and delivery. So these are first-party Helm charts from Chainguard, which we can take more control around testing and how they're delivered to customers so that they're easier for you all to use without having to run into troubleshooting issues. And then most importantly, uniformity in the images used by those Helm charts. So historically, many customers, many of you may have realized that when you were using a Bitnami Helm chart, you were maybe pulling in a primary or primary plus secondary image from Chainguard. But the other images required by that Helm chart were pulling from Docker Hub, GitHub, and all of these other untrusted sources. Today, with Chainguard's first-party Helm charts, every image in that chart that gets deployed is coming directly from Chainguard's catalog, meaning that every image is minimal, hardened, zero CVE, and guarded under our SLA. Again, please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to talk now about custom assembly, and Mandy is going to join in a few minutes to actually give a demo of what this feature is. So we launched custom assembly in general availability last week. I believe it was exactly 1 week ago. And what custom assembly allows customers to do is to take a stock or standard Chainguard image and customize it by adding packages or images on top. And so some of the frequent use cases we've heard from other customers are, I need to add a handful of packages, such as monitoring tools across all my images. Some customers need to build kitchen sink images, meaning Java plus Go plus Python. And although that's not standard practice, it is something we've seen in some of our customers' Docker files. And others simply just want an easier way to extend images without relying on the -dev variant or without relying on their own built pipelines. And so the benefits that we're hoping to deliver for customers using custom assembly are, one, every customized image is built and maintained by Chainguard in our build infrastructure with our build tooling with full coverage under the SLA. That means reduced infrastructure costs for you, reduced overhead for maintenance, and reduced complexity of customization. And one of the ways that I like to frame custom assembly is that over time, we want to expose more and more programmatic access to our customers to take advantage of the hard work we've done to build the Chainguard factory. So for us, this is just the start. And that's why when you look at the last section on the slide here, a lot of our roadmap is expanding custom assembly to give you more control over how you consume images tailored to your requirements.
Thanks, Aditya. I'm going to, as Aditya said, show you all how to add additional packages securely to your Chainguard images. I'm logged in here to the console and I'm viewing my organization's images. These are all the images available to my private repository, and I'm going to search for JDK. You'll see that I now have a customized image button available, and clicking it is going to bring up the custom assembly dialog. I'm given the name of the image, the address from which to pull this image, as well as the image it's based on. We're going to build a kitchen sink image. This one has JDK already. I'm going to add Node and Python, as well as Bash, so that I can exec into a running container and show you that those packages are installed. Confirm that these are the packages I'd like to install, and hit Apply Changes. Now, immediately, a new build is kicked off for each of the variants, each of the tags. Let's find one here's one that's pre-populated. This gives details about the build itself. This is useful for troubleshooting, and it's especially helpful if you have any issues and need to contact support. So that's how you use the console to kick off a custom assembly build job. And now I'm going to jump over to my terminal and show you how we can pull down an image locally and look at the packages installed. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to just grab this command so you don't have to watch me type. And what I'm doing here is I'm pulling down one of my custom assembly images, JDK latest, and I'm pulling it by digest, which is the recommended way to pull an image. And now that it's pulled locally, it pulls pretty quickly because most of my layers are cached. And then I'm going to run this command. I'm going to pass a new entry point to the running container. I'm going to give it bin bash. Now, normally this wouldn't work because our images don't come with a shell or package manager installed, but because I added bash, you can see that I can override the entry point and enter bash. We have Java installed, Node installed, Python installed, and as you can see, I'm in a bash prompt, so we also have bash installed. And that's it. That's how you add additional packages securely using custom assembly. Back to you, Ditya.
Awesome. For folks interested in learning more about custom assembly, we obviously have docs. We actually now have a Chainguard course on custom assembly as well, so you can get sort of like a guided walkthrough, and all your developers can get a guided walkthrough about how to use custom assembly. And then we have our blog post announcement and demo video that elaborates a little bit on what Mandy just showed. So I'll post those links in the chat, and obviously please feel free to reach out to your account teams. And I should add one last thing. Custom assembly is available for every Chainguard customer. So this is sort of included in your subscription. Awesome. Well, to give a quick update on the partnerships front, in the last few weeks, or last few months, I should say, in the last quarter, we've added a few new scanner integrations. So the big ones being Microsoft Windows Defender and then Orca Security. We also are now available for purchase on Azure Marketplace. And we actually entered into our first OEM partnership. So Chainguard is actually taking Azul's JDK build. We have gotten access to the source code from Azul, and we are building it in our factory and continuously maintaining it in our factory. What that means is that joint customers of Azul and Chainguard can actually, for the first time, receive 0 CVE Azul images maintained under Chainguard's SLA for CV remediation with enterprise support from Azul. So this is a unique partnership. This is the first one of these that we're doing. We're excited to engage in more of these OEM partnerships in the future. And please let us know if you're interested in checking out the Azul image. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and again, I'm going to call Mandy up on stage to give a demo after I give a brief explanation, is the Docker file converter. So the objective of the Docker file converter is to make it very simple to migrate images from Debian, Alpine, Ubuntu, etc., all of these legacy OS distributions to Chainguard OS, and Wolfie-based images. And so what we've done is we've actually built an open source tool, so you can go to the Dockerfile GitHub repos yourself, to automatically convert those legacy Docker files to the commands required by Chainguard's ecosystem, which, as many of you know, is an APK-based ecosystem. The main benefits that we're hoping to deliver to customers are, one, make it very easy and fast for your developers to adopt Chainguard and improve the developer experience of mapping over legacy Docker files to Docker files built with Chainguard. And 3, we are also trying to give you the flexibility to customize your mappings. And what that basically means is that we've built, one version of the Docker file converter that we think is standard and generally applicable to all customers. But if you have custom mappings that you want the Docker file converter to take into consideration, you can implement that as well. And for those of you who are starting to work with MCP servers, there is an MCP server for Docker file converter as well that one of our customers actually built and has been using. So you can find that in the open source repo, and it'll make it even easier to migrate your applications to Chainguard containers because you can just interact with a Docker file converter in natural language. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and let Mandy hop back into a demo.
Thanks, Aditya. All right, let's take a look at the Docker file converter in action. So as Aditya mentioned, there are a couple things that change when you move from the base images you've been using to Chainguard images. For example, we do not install a root user by default. So there'll be some changes you'll need to make. There'll be changes to the package manager. This is the Docker file I'm going to convert. You can see that it is based on an Ubuntu image, and it runs apt-get or apt-get to install some additional packages. Pretty simple Docker file. I'm going to run the Docker file converter. It's initially going to just print to standard out. It doesn't overwrite the existing file. There is a command line option to overwrite inline if you prefer. First thing you'll see is it replaced Ubuntu with a Chainguard base image. It's also given a variable here, org, which is the name of my Chainguard organization. You can also pass in a command line option. I'm going to give it my organization name, mandyhubbard.com. So now, this is useful if you have a multi-stage Docker file where maybe you're using a couple of different images. It's going to update your repo for all of those, as well as update the image to use a Chainguard image. The next thing you'll see is we switched to the root user because, as I mentioned, Chainguard images run as the non-root user, but in order to install the packages, we'll need to be root. So we switched to the root user, and then all of the apt-gets are replaced with APK add commands. That is the package manager for Chainguard OS. Everything else is pretty much the same as the rest of the Docker file. But now you have a Docker file that you can use to build a new image off of Chainguard base that uses the proper package manager for Chainguard OS, and you can customize to your needs. And that's it. Back to you, Aditya.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mandy. I'm going to share my screen again. So again, for the Docker file converter, we have public docs. We have a GitHub repository, again, because this is an open source tool, so you can check it out yourself. And then there's the blog post announcement and demo video. I'm going to turn it over now to Angela. Please, again, if you have questions, throw them in the Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end of this call.
All right, thanks, Aditya. Hey everyone, I'm Angela. I'm on the product management team here at Chainguard. I am leading our Chainguard Libraries product, and excited to share about what's been recently released and what's coming up. And I'm gonna share my screen, 1 second. All right. So I'm going to go through some of the recent announcements that we've had over these past few months. If you were keeping up with our recent announcements, we announced Chainguard Libraries for Java back in March at our Assemble conference, our first user conference this year. And then more recently, we've also announced Chainguard Libraries for Python. And so similarly to Java libraries, this new product helps organizations prevent malware and supply chain attacks, and we're essentially offering a secure, trusted set of these libraries that are built entirely from source, from the upstream PyPy repository. So today we have both Java and Python available in early access. We have a couple customers testing and giving us early feedback on this. So yeah, if anyone is interested in trying out Python, definitely feel free to reach out to us. On top of that, so we've been working pretty hard on expanding the coverage across both of our Java libraries and Python libraries. Just as of last month, you can see in our dashboard here, we've built over 50,000 projects in Java from the Maven Central repository, as well as over 13,000 Python projects from PyPy. And we're really focused on building the majority of libraries that are most commonly used and focusing on the most recent versions and years of releases. In addition, as we're onboarding early access customers to both our Java and Python libraries, if you have any additional package versions that we haven't built yet, we're working on essentially a way to automatically queue up those builds and then in the future have visibility on newly requested libraries that are not available from Chainguard yet. All right. Another thing we've been working on is a tool that allows you to verify the coverage of our libraries. And so this CLI tool, it's called ChainVer. It's available to early access customers today. And it is available to be downloaded from a public link, and it lets you validate the coverage that you have across any application that you're using Chainguard libraries on. You'll essentially see the percent of those artifacts that make up the application that are coming from Chainguard versus an upstream repository. And then second, this tool also verifies whether artifacts were built by Chainguard by checking for the signatures that we ship with all of our libraries. All right. Another thing that our team has recently been rolling out is within our console. So this is a directory of our libraries, just basically a browsing experience to be able to search for which projects and which versions we have available. This is not on by default yet, but if you're interested in trying out our early access products, we can definitely give you access to this in the console. And I'm actually going to jump over to a quick demo of this. So 1 second. All right, so this is kind of the first version of our console browsing experience. So right now we have Java and Python libraries. It's basically a full list of all the libraries and versions that we have built directly from source. On the bottom right-hand corner, you can see we have 55,000 projects built in Java, over 13,000 projects built for Python. And then I can simply just search for any project that you would search from upstream. So for example, the Flask project, you can see we've built 28 versions. All those versions you can filter down to. You can search for another package like NumPy. And so this basically allows you to quickly validate whether we have the coverage needed for you to start onboarding to libraries. All right, let me switch back. Okay, so just going to quickly cover what's coming up soon for our libraries product and the upcoming roadmap. So one thing that we've been hearing from a lot of our early testers is they are really interested in addition to kind of the malware-resistant set of libraries that we're building from source, also remediating CVEs and specific libraries that they have trouble kind of upgrading to and that the upstream project isn't able to remediate. So we are currently in early design phases for doing that CVE remediation within libraries that have critical and high CVEs and where a lot of our customers aren't able to upgrade those versions. We're starting with Python libraries and working with and looking for additional kind of design partners for this. And so, yeah, feel free to reach out if you're interested in this as a use case. And then finally, we also are working on a new language ecosystem, JavaScript. Similar to our other language ecosystems, we're building the packages on the upstream NPM registry directly from source. to prevent those malicious supply chain attacks. And this has been something that's been highly requested by quite a few customers. And with the kind of recent amount of attacks within the NPM ecosystem, we're really excited to be solving the malware problem within JavaScript as well. And then early access for this, we're planning on opening up later this year. All right, I think that's it for me. I'm gonna hand it over to Mark Baker to talk about our VMs product.
Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you, previous presenters as well. Let me just figure out screen sharing. Go ahead and do that. So thank you. So as I said, my name is Mark Baker. I'm PM for Chainguard VMs. And as a reminder, Chainguard VMs are currently in early access. So we have a number of different images available, primarily focused on container host. And we've had many customers testing those out across different cloud providers. If that's something that you are interested in testing out, so as a container host, for example, running with Amazon EKS or in Google or Azure Compute environments, love to get you on board and test that out. So do let us know. Here I wanted to show what we've recently released and then discuss a little about what we've got coming down the pipe too. So recently released, we've made our EA images, so the Chainguard VMs, available in the Azure Marketplace. So we started with Google Marketplace and then AWS Marketplace. These are now available in Azure. So we have the 3 primary clouds covered, as I say. And if you want to try those out in early access and get on board, then please do let us know. And go to chainguard.dev and /VMs, and you'll find that. And then so yeah, directly in the marketplace, we find this is the way that customers prefer to be able to get access to these images in the clouds. And so again, if there's other ways you'd like to see, please let us know in the chat here. We have also with our Chainguard VM container hosts for Amazon EKS. When we first brought those out back in March time, those are very much based on EKS 132, right, which was the Kubernetes version that EKS supported by default at that time, the most recent one. They subsequently released support for 133, and so we've updated those Chainguard VMs to be able to support 133. So again, if you want to test it out, you can use either 132 or 133. We support both of those. Again, happy to provide you with details of how you can get on board with that. We also have a kernel-independent FIPS EKS image. So if you run workloads, and FIPS is, as part of FedRAMP or FIPS as part of compliance is a requirement there. We have a FIPS EKS image now available for you to check out and test. It's as ever with FIPS, the devil is in the detail. So it depends very much on what kind of workload you're doing. So there are certain limitations of that, but certainly in the same way that we have FIPS images for containers and different for covering different runtimes, different languages, etc. We have a FIPS EKS image that will enable you to run many of your workloads in a FIPS compliant way. Again, that's available as part of early access. So now we take a look at what we've got coming down the pipe. So what we're currently busy working on. Well, it's more of that compliance story. So we've heard from customers working in healthcare, financial services, of course, federal space, that compliance is a big deal, and we recognize that right from the onset of developing Chainguard VMs. And so we've been working hard to build out that FIPS story, but then also increasingly with the CIS, the Center for Internet Security Hardening. So we're progressing well on achieving L1 validation for the Chainguard VMs, and then also on the DISA STIGs. And so we're working on the general purpose operating system validation for that. And so if you're operating in an environment, say typically those kind of healthcare, those regulated environments, healthcare, finance, federal, defense, etc., that require compliance with some of these standards, FIPS, such as the STIGs or hardening as from CIS, we will be able to provide you with either images or mechanisms to be able to get those those certifications and validations in place. So we're also working on new use cases. As I say, to date, we focus very much on container hosts. And that made great sense for us because we provide those container images. We have many customers using those. Many of you, I guess, participating in this will be running Chainguard container images. And so it made sense. And we'd had customer feedback saying actually a container host is the kind of the next logical step in the VM space. And having had customers test those out and spoken with a great many different customers about what we're doing in with VMs, we've seen a number of requests for application VMs. So in the same way that we have a library or catalog of container images, not all customer applications can switch from their current environment into a container. And we've had many requests saying, well, can you provide me with a VM that's optimized to run a specific application that's minimal, that has 0 CVEs, that's regularly updated, for my Nginx environment, or for my Python environment, or for my Squid proxy environment. And so we are now building out those application VMs. This is the initial set that we're looking at. So this 6 is the 6 that we're busy working on and hopefully going to make available as part of early access soon. If you're interested in testing any of those, then please, again, let me know in the chat or reach out to us through your account team.